I'm about to bring up another gentleman here. He's one of my trainers, and he is very, very... the one thing that I noticed about him when I first met him is that he's got a very, very masculine and powerful presence, and very good body language as well. But above and beyond, he seems to have a real talent and skill. I actually hired him initially to do some writing, because his writing is so good and his ability to tell stories is so wonderful. And actually in my forum, I used to, he would format his posts perfectly, and they'd have colors and stuff and pictures, and it was just very, very entertaining. And so he started working for me, and he's at the point now where, he's broken down storytelling almost to a science and art form. And we're going to talk about storytelling and how you can incorporate that into your conversational game. So I'd like to bring up Rewalk.
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good. Yeah, microphone, all right?
Okay. I think so.
I hope so.
I think so. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, good. So, since you're going to be talking for most of the time, I would appreciate if you hand me the gong mallet.
There you go.
Thank you. I'm just going to keep this over here. Okay. So what are we talking about today? Storytelling, right?
Yeah, today we're talking about storytelling. And why storytelling is important is that meeting girls is tough for a lot of guys. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of guys have qualms about what to say. Mm-hmm. Whether it's just introducing yourself, or when you get past that, whether it's actually talking about yourself or trying to get a woman interested with what you're saying or what your words are and your message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I find a lot of guys, they try storytelling, or they have a story that they want to tell, and I find that sometimes they'll just run on and on with it, or sometimes they don't know the right things that they should be portraying in the story, or they don't know why they're telling the story at all, and maybe it's something they're not even interested in, right? And so, it's going to be good to learn the right way to do storytelling.
Awesome. So I have a question. What do you guys really want to know about a guy who comes up to you in a club, or even on a first date? The first thing, what do you really want to know about some guy who comes up to you? It's not really their name, their age.
Well, make sure he's not a serial killer.
Yeah.
But after that's taken care of, then what do you want to know?
I want to know what they do, and if they're happy with what they do, and if they're good at what they do. And I guess I'm an ambitious person, personally. So I always want to know what their line of work is, and if they enjoy it. It's a big turnoff to me if someone's like, I do this, but I hate it.
Right.
So
I personally like to find out if you are genuine or not. I'm not so much into whatever it is that you're doing, but as long as you are a good person, true heart, and you're honest, that's what I want to know. I don't want to be told a spiel that you told 1,000 other people.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that it's you that I'm talking to.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
That's good.
I was just saying.
Same. Cool.
So it's not a lot of your name, your age, your serial number. What they want to know is kind of what about you, your ambitions, your goals.
Who you are.
Yeah, who you are. So you can actually connect on a real level. And that's where storytelling comes in.
I just realized I don't know my serial number. Is that a problem? You know it?
Yeah, it's your social security.
Oh, that's
okay. I figure we have a couple Ks.
This is making me nervous. He's a girl.
Barcode.
Right, yeah, right.
And would you say that a lot of times when you kind of get picked up by a guy in the bar, a lot of times you kind of want just some sort of adventure or some sort of excitement? Because you figure it's the same, you kind of meet people, you go to a club, it's kind of the same thing. Would that be right? You kind of want...
Something different?
Yeah, something different.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's always going to be different because we're all different. But I think that is what is, nice about meeting new people, and what makes you different is what I want to know. Like, I don't want to hear, like you said, the standard stuff.
Well, I don't want to meet a guy at a bar and then have him, and then agree to go on a date with him and then have him take me to another bar for a date. Yeah. I want something interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Awesome.
That's good.
Awesome.
I want it to be totally separate.
Yeah. I think the important thing is that I really liked what you guys were saying about what you're looking for a guy, or what you're kind of looking to find out about a guy. That he's interesting and that he likes what he does, and it's that he has some kind of passion in his life, right? And I think that storytelling, as we know, is a nice way to convey that passion.
I think also confidence comes into play a lot. Like, you definitely want to be talking to someone who is secure in themselves. Because girls always want to be, I don't want to say taken care of, but you always want to have that masculine side of you. And you want that person to be stronger and confident about who they are.
Right. Cool.
So as far as have any of you guys ever heard like a good story? Like, as far as has ever like somebody told you a good story that, like, what do you remember about it? Like, what parts do you really remember about it?
I remember the whole story. Sometimes I tell it to other people like it was my story. I love it.
It is a sure. Tell us.
A guy told me about a friend of his that was dog sitting for someone, and it was like a really big dog, and the dog like died while he was taking care of it. I know it's kind of sad, but it's also funny. So wait. And so he calls the owners, and they're like, well, yeah, he was very old, it's okay, it's not your fault, and that he should take the dog to the vet, because then they'll, they do whatever they need to do. So they didn't have like a carrier for the dog or anything, so he just found like a really big suitcase and put the dog in it. And then he went on the subway with it, or she went on the subway with it, and she was having trouble like taking it off because there were so many people, and this guy offered to help her, and she said, she felt kind of weird about it. She wanted her to be careful, and she didn't want to be like, there's a dog in it. So she was like, there's like breakables or whatever in there, and he punched her and ran away with the bag because he thought that she said breakables, so valuables. So that's what happened, and I just thought it was a really funny story, just really odd. And
He's getting a surprise.
and I remember the guy who told it to me like so well, even though like haven't talked to him in a long time. So
That's really messed up.
Yeah, that's
Like, really bad.
it's a good
Only
story.
you
But it's like you totally remember it, kind of like an urban legend kind of thing.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Cool. You like this? Is that a good story?
I love that story. That was great.
He's gonna use
now
it.
you can all use
You
it.
can use it. You can
Thank
use
you.
it.
JFL.
It worked for
That's
him.
weird.
I'll tell you that. Worked for him.
But what it is that was a great story.
That was the one? Oh, it worked, did it?
Yeah.
It definitely worked. I mean, there's other stories, other things, but yeah.
But that was like the one.
The dead dog story.
That had a lot of elements of a great story, though, because it kind of gets your heart racing, and it kind of takes you on a journey. So it's not just an easy resolution. It's not like a flat pace. It's like taking somebody on an emotional journey, too. The whole time you're kind of worried some parts of it, you're laughing others, and you really get to experience a wide range of emotions. And like she said, it'll make you stand out. And that's the same reason that anybody from rock stars to even like graffiti artists have some sort of groupie, quote unquote, fan base, because women, I think, and people as a whole want to be part of something bigger than themselves and something more exciting they kind of get wrapped up in. And let's see. It also is great for, as far as, I don't think Vin talked about this before so far today, but I know it's a big thing that you teach as far as compliance and what we call virtual compliance. So while you're telling a story, you can kind of bring somebody through a range of emotions.
You're talking about using a story, and then when she reacts to it, you're almost like testing her response to it, and then if she reacts to it, you know that you can move forward. You get a window from that, and that you can take advantage of that, and maybe use that to get a phone number, or maybe go to another bar or something else like that.
Exactly. You can set future projections.
Right, or just set up future plans through it.
Yeah, right into closing. Yeah.
Good.
So that's a little bit of a technique. But what's also really great about it is everybody's obviously in this room has been through it. Men communicate mostly through stories. If you're going to go to a business meeting or a bar or a sports outing, you sit a bunch of guys down together and they're going to tell stories and they're going to exchange stories. And the reason they do this is a lot of times they judge each other based on your past experiences. So the person who not only has the best stories, like the best things they've done, but can portray it the most eloquently and can really get people wrapped up and involved in it, is usually the most dominant one, and the one that people kind of succeed like a lot of leadership to. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of this is based on a lot of people go into pickup and then take a dominant or a leader frame. And that's a very easy way to do it, is with stories, and to really kind of put your passions out there. And I know women do this too. Basically, most people, you sit down with an old friend, and what's the first thing you talk to, especially if you haven't seen each other in a while?
So what have you been up to?
Yeah, so what have you been up to? And you kind of exchange stories, and you kind of try to build comfort based on your experiences, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so basically, in summary, you need to learn how to tell a great story. It's one of those life skills that's really tough to go on without.
Or not be someone who tells shitty stories.
I think that's more close, yeah. Tell a mediocre to decent story, not just be the one person. Everybody's like, oh, okay, let's change the topic.
Right. Cool.
Mm-hmm. So what do you feel that most guys do wrong when they're trying to tell you a story? Or most people in general?
That's a good question.
I worry about people exaggerating.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you wouldn't want to tell a story that's too out there, or that you want to have really good, convincing details about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like when I'm meeting somebody, if I don't know them, most of the things they say I don't believe.
So it kind of comes across like bragging, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of telling a story just for like a purpose.
Yeah.
That's huge. Bragging is massive. And I think the reason it's massive is because in the mainstream, as far as anything from sitcoms to Oprah, the main like sleazy quote unquote stereotype of a guy coming up to you is like bragging, like, oh, I have so much money, so many cars, houses, this is what I do for a job. And so just coming off and bragging is really big. What else?
I definitely, like, if someone's telling me a story, I want there to be like a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want it to trail off and then I lose what's going on, or there be too many characters. I want it to be short and compact enough that I can get the whole thing.
Where people get really over picky about details.
I'd
Yeah.
rather if they never told any stories at all, rather than telling a you had to be there story. They're awful.
Definitely. Like getting over picky about details and you had to be there stories, just those ones
Where
that
it's
really
just like
don't
the end of the
fit
story and you're
plots.
like, that's the end of the
You
story.
don't know the point.
Yeah.
Like, what's
Then
the
you don't
point?
feel-
Is that funny?
connected.
Like, what was
Yeah.
that? And then sometimes it might just even mean that, like, you find very different things funny.
Yeah.
And
And I also kind of find the stories to be disconnecting. Like, oh, well, you weren't there, so you don't really get it.
Yeah.
You know, and then
exactly.
you're like, well, what am I supposed to do now? You know, it leads to awkward feelings.
yeah.
Right. It makes the whole situation awkward if there's no clear point to the story. Cool.
And how about topics? Like if somebody brings up like really bad topics, like I know a lot of people will go, at least a lot of people I know, because I just, I'm basically in college. So I know a lot of people will tell stories, and if they go to a bar where there's maybe some older women, like mid-20s, high 20s, mid-30s, like professional women who have jobs, they start telling frat party stories. And those usually don't go over that well.
No.
Or you start telling, I know for a lot of people, if you start telling really intricate business stories to women who are like younger 20s, there's kind of a disconnect and a miscalibration. And it kind of shows that you're not really socially with it. You don't really kind of catch the vibe.
Cool.
Or like you're not catering to
You know what I would like to do? I'd like to talk to these guys and find out, what difficulties they've had with storytelling. Have you guys ever tried telling stories?
One thing I've had problems with in the past is like what you were talking about is sort of trailing off. You know what I mean? And like when you were talking about having an actual beginning, middle, and end, I sort of kind of lose it towards the end.
Right. No clear points or punchline. Mm-hmm. Matt?
I'm not even sure where to start.
Really? So you've never tried storytelling, or?
Not really, no.
No, never even tried it. Okay, cool. Got lots to work with then. Cool.
I actually did what the quote-unquote mainstream did, which is doing the bragging, the demonstration of high value. Never really worked.
What did you brag about?
Well, that that I came from China and we had this epic adventure coming over here.
I like that.
It's like an adventure story.
But it's all kind of like in the delivery of the whole thing.
Yeah, we're gonna do some deliveries.
You should picture it like an action movie, like an adventure movie.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, and just kind of give it that way. Well, you know what? We could probably throw in the first drill here.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
All right, for this first drill, what we're gonna do is basically is along the lines of telling a story that really trails on with a lot of details. So what I want you to do is I want you to tell a story about something that you are very passionate about. So just right off the bat, first we're just going to tell a story that we're very passionate about, and just kind of go on until you think the story's come to a completion.
Yeah, we just want a gauge of your abilities. So just tell a story about something you're passionate about.
Okay.
And we'll let you know when you're done.
Okay. Great.
They'll go on you.
Yeah. Do you guys get fear when I grab the gun?
I do.
You get like a little bit of fear.
Shivers.
I feel kind of powerful. Okay, tell a story.
You want me to go first?
Go for it.
You kind of put me on the spot here.
What's your favorite thing to do?
My favorite thing to do, well, something haven't been practicing, but I really do love to do is practice martial arts. Just going through the.
Well, tell me a story about. Did you ever do competitions?
I have.
All right, tell me a story about like a really great time during one of your competitions.
Okay. Well, I went to this one competition in Baltimore. It was an international competition, and actually, I used to, even before I even got into this whole stuff, whatever. I actually used to, visualize myself into actually succeeding, and I actually did that, in the competition and stuff. And I remember I was with one opponent, and I really thought that I was gonna, just kick this guy's ass or whatever, right? But that actually did not end up happening. But the guy, he actually ended up. I kind of felt like I kind of got cheated in a way. He was using techniques that were not that he wasn't supposed to do, basically. But in the end, he got points for it, and I didn't.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we give feedback on that? No?
Let's give feedback on the story.
All right.
You should
I
tell
would-
a happy story.
Okay.
You should tell a happy story, not a story where you get defeated.
And cheated out of it.
That's horrible.
Like where you're like bitter about it.
I find if you're telling a negative story and you put a funny spin on it, it works.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
like
true.
the dogs.
Yeah. Like, but then I stole his girlfriend. Something like that.
Imagine seemed to be excited about his story. He was like, oh, like, yeah, right? Like halfway through, he was like, and then he started again.
How did you feel when you told the story?
Well,
that's not a great.
I was actually, I felt like I was kind of on the spot, whatever. But
Of course.
I really didn't.
It's a conversation cure, baby.
But when I even started, I really didn't know where to take it, basically. So.
Okay. The first thing the most fundamental thing is that it's got to be a story that's like makes you feel good. I find that if I'm telling a story that makes me feel good, it's like the girl's gonna feel good too because she can feel the energy. So that's like the most fundamental thing, is like to get something. That's why you said something you're passionate about. Now you're passionate about martial arts. Are there any stories where you came out victorious?
Yeah.
Okay, let's pick one of those.
All right.
Where like you didn't know if you were gonna win, but then you did.
All right. Actually, I was in a martial arts called Wing Chun, and in that specific martial art, there's this thing called a wooden dummy. And what you do is you go through like a choreographed set of movements. And there was one test I had to take, and you have to beat the test. Basically, what you need to do is you have to do 108 movements, choreographed movements, under a minute. And I remember when I first heard that, it sounded a little intimidating, right? And so, but just out of curiosity, I asked my head instructor, "What's the fastest you've ever seen anybody do it with crisp, clear movements?" And he told me, like, I think something ridiculous, like 44 seconds or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right. And that was like probably my first day of the class, right? And I set this goal for myself that I wanted to come as close as possible to that time. I don't care if it passed it or whatever, but I wanted to come as close as possible. And I actually visualized myself surprising my head instructor and everybody in the class. And as I was going through this, I sort of picked up my own techniques of how I can get faster and how I can make each movement, shorter and shorter. And probably just a few months down the road, I took a test as a beginner belt, and I basically beat even the black belts in the
oh my God.
in the whole school. And I actually ended up becoming, I think it was something like 46 seconds or something.
Oh my God.
And so,
wow.
Yeah.
So you can kick some. Okay, I'm not fucking with you, Alex. You could gong him. Not now.
No.
Risking your life.
It was a good going.
He's good.
What I liked about that was really good is you started talking about it, and then you just kind of went somewhere else. Like you kind of went back to it. You understand what I mean? Like you kind of started talking, and your eyes you dilated a little bit. And you put a lot of emotion into it, which was really cool. But what you could do with that story is you still had a couple details that you could have made it flow a little bit better. So what do you think are like the top, like 3 or 4 like really main points of that story?
One thing I could have done is given more detail of what I did to actually become like faster.
No.
No. Okay.
Like what are the top 4 points as far as like emotionally goes? Like that were like the top 4 that really explain the emotions that you had during the story.
Okay, so I could have explained how the whole thing felt. Is that what you're getting at, or?
More like the parts of the story that you had that you thought were like the top 4. Like you went to your first class and you really saw this dummy and you had to do 108 movements. And you had to do it. You talked to your teacher. You were really excited, and he said you had to do it. And 44 was really the best, and you kind of felt really nervous, And that's kind of like one of the emotional points. And then you got it. You felt really, really great. You felt really kind of proud. You really felt that for yourself. Just kind of really heightening things like that, and not so much as far as like the beginner belt to the black belt. That was a great ending, but things like in visualizing, just really trying to cut the details down, and try to keep the emotional cues as high as possible.
Basically, think about when you would bring this story up with a woman. Okay, what is she going to relate to in that story? Because chances are, she's not going to relate to the martial arts aspect. Not a lot of women have done martial arts, typically. So she's not going to be relating to that. She probably won't understand the technicalities of the dummy or the different moves or the timing or anything like that. But what a woman will relate to is having a challenge, feeling like it's impossible, working hard at it, and then overcoming it. Okay? So that's going to be the emphasis of the story. right? Because that's the only thing she's going to really relate to.
Right.
All right, so start thinking about those
Okay.
details.
Gotcha. Okay.
Much better story.
Yeah. You were like happy telling me. Like
Yeah.
right away, I was smiling too. I was like, yeah.
Shows you can make goals for yourself and kind of like makes the girl think like he's a very motivated person.
That's good. And I think, maybe that would be good during like a date, perhaps. Once you're like really sharing, talking about passion or overcoming
Really like
things.
doing.
It's not a cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing without bragging
Yeah.
about yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I was actually consciously trying not to do that, but it was kind of hard, I don't know. It just kind of felt that way to me, though.
It felt what?
It felt like I kind of felt like I was bragging about it, Like, I didn't like. But
You
How-
didn't
how did
say
it
once
come
like
up?
I am the best. You never said that at all.
No, because
Yeah,
you
you're really
said that
humble
you
about
worked
it.
really hard to get to that.
and you set the goal, and you were a beginner.
And when you first talked about how quickly that other person had done it, the 44 seconds, like I did not expect you to say that you got so close to it. Like you were still so in awe of that person doing it in 44 seconds. So you weren't like, Psh, 44 seconds, I can beat that.
Yeah.
That would be bragging.
Cool. Is that good?
Yeah. If you want to, yeah.
Yeah. Are there any more levels or anything else we're doing with it?
As far as that, we wanted to see if you could break the story down into maybe 3 or 4 sentences. Not that most stories are that, but a lot of stories can be broken down to really that succinct, where it's an opening and a hook point and a close. And if you can learn to tell stories in just like 3 or 4 sentences, then when you tell bigger stories, you really know exactly what details you really want to put in it. So maybe try doing that story again in like 3 or 4 sentences, definitely hitting the emotional points. Like they said, making sure you have the hard work in, how you felt about it, and just try, see if you can get it down.
Okay. So you want me to try it again?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. One of the things I really find interesting or really fascinating is that, going from basically nowhere to actually becoming something really, really great at something, For example, when I took martial arts, there was this wooden dummy that the teacher showed me basically, and I asked him how.
What's it called?
What's the martial art called?
No,
What's
the practice of doing the moves, the sequence of moves on the dummy. What's that called?
We just used to call it the wooden dummy.
What?
We just used to call it the wooden dummy, basically. Just practicing on the wooden dummy. Basically.
Oh, but there's no name for the sequence of moves that you get timed on? The 108 moves? There's no name for that?
There is, but I think it's called like a. I'm not 100% what it's called.
Okay,
But
because
yeah,
I think it'd be interesting to say that there's this thing called this. And what that means is, because after you say that, the girl's like, ooh, what's that?
Oh, okay.
And what I noticed is you start off really focused. Like when you're telling the story, it was just right there. Like you even had your hands up, like it's right there in front of me. And then and then you kind of fumble with the instructor details, and it's like you kind of take a step back from it,
Yeah.
So just stay on the focus part. Ready?
One of the things I really find interesting is going from point A to point B, meaning like if you start off with something that you feel like is almost an impossible task, and actually mastering that task, and for example, when I took martial arts, I was in a martial art called Wing Chun, and basically there's a test that you have to take as a beginner. It's 108 movements under a minute, basically, and that in and of itself sounded really intimidating to me. And when I was getting ready for this test, I used to visualize myself as you know, being the best person in the class, basically. And
It's good. Take your time.
okay, there's like all this information, sort of like,
Yep. Just let it
yeah,
happen.
it's all
It's good.
I'm just kind of okay. And I remember when I took my test, then when I was preparing for it and everything, I used to like visualize, and I used to come up with all these ideas of how I can make myself faster, you know. And I spent just hours and hours just practicing. And finally, when the test came, I actually, as a beginner belt, actually ended up beating all the black belts in our school. And the last thing, actually, yeah. And as soon as I was done, and when the instructor said the time, he looked at the watch and it was 46 seconds. I actually surprised myself with that, you know. And it's one of those things where you're in the zone or something and you really don't remember much of what happened. But actually, the last thing that I remember was that the black belt that was actually behind me, he had to go next, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even know if I can do that."
Wow. I like that.
What did you think?
Good.
Better?
You
I
had
think the
that-
first time telling it was better.
I liked it better the first time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what did you like about it the first time better?
He was just more excited about it. I think
It's
this
like
time I could
natural.
tell he was like,
Processing.
yeah, he was worried about like fitting it into 3 or 4 sentences, I guess. I guess that's like a skill you have to work
Master.
at.
Yeah, we want to try to get it more concise, you know. So what are the main points here? We got, you know, I think it's really interesting how people can overcome challenges. You know, something like that, right? When I first started my martial art, I saw this really intimidating wooden dummy process. And the record of doing the entire process was 44 seconds, and it was so intimidating, right? So that's 2. But I visualized surprising my instructor. You know, I worked my ass off and practiced. It's 3. And the 4th one would just be, and then when I finally took the test, I couldn't believe it, but I did the whole thing in only 46 seconds. And actually the black belt that was supposed to go after me was like, shit, I can't do that. You know? Just getting it really, really simple, you know, just trying to minimize all of the kind of thought language, so you're not stumbling around and searching for words. Just really, really get it down to 4 simple points. Do you think you could do that?
Okay, you can try.
You remember what the 4 things are?
You're gonna have to remind me.
Okay. First one is you're interested in how people can overcome a challenge. And then the second one is you first started martial arts, so you were intimidated. Third one is you practiced your ass off and visualized. And the 4th one is the punchline. You did it in 46 seconds and surprised people.
Okay. All right. And one of the things I really find interesting is overcoming challenges.
Mm-hmm.
For example, when I was in martial arts, there was this wooden dummy test, and you have to go through 108 movements under a minute to pass the test.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked my instructor what the record was. He said that it was, he's never seen anybody do it faster than 44 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I practiced my ass off.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I took that test, I actually ended up beating everybody in the class, and my time was 46 seconds. And the last thing I remember on that day was the guy behind me who was a black belt saying, "Holy shit, I don't even know if I could do that."
Wow.
That was really good. That was good.
Yeah. Did it feel more concise?
It felt more fluid, yeah.
Yeah.
It was more confidence.
Yeah. If you
But I
feel-
did like your first version better. I just
Well,
because
you
were
added the minority here.
I am the minority, but I just felt
Fire.
like, yeah, you should totally fire me. No, I just felt because your first story, I mean, this one was good, but the first time you told it, it was like someone was possessing you and you were reliving that moment. and you really were connecting to that
That's good.
that spot.
That's valuable input too. That's valuable.
So if you don't condense it, you could always, you did great first time.
I think what you mean is that the first time I told
There's
it, there was
more
more
feeling
there was
in
more
it.
passion in it.
Because it was your first time, but then once you,
Right.
yeah.
But the condensed version was really good too, because you were really confident about what you were saying, and there's no ums or breaks in the story. So
The whole thing about condensing a story is once you condense it, once you get the main points, then you can go back and you can really add in that passionate language again, because you still have that feeling, you still have that experience, but you know exactly what parts to focus on. So you know exactly what feelings you want to focus on. You can really bring those alive. So you kind of want to mix between the two, but I thought that was good.
Good. Okay. Great. Moving on to the next guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Cool. Are we scoring this at all?
I have a little
Yeah, a
score.
little system? Or just the game at the end? Okay.
I think it was just
Okay.
a score.
Okay. Cool. How you doing?
Good, good.
Okay. So first time, just tell a story.
Okay. One of the things that I really like to do, it's a big hobby of mine, is I play the guitar. I have a friend of mine, he lives out in New Mexico, and he comes to visit every so often, and he plays bass, and he's really good at it, so we try to jam a lot. And one time he was here, we were trying to record some stuff, and we'd already had the music down for the song that we wanted to do from when he was here before. And so I wrote these lyrics about my brother. Now I love my brother, but in this song I was kind of ripping on him a little bit. Like I was making fun of him a lot. But and so I actually had to sing the song. I was playing guitar, and I'm a horrible singer, so that part of it didn't come out too good.
Oh, the singing?
Yeah, the singing.
Cool.
so what happened?
Yeah.
We recorded the song. It's not much of a story.
It could be.
Did you ever show it to your brother?
Yeah, he liked it.
There you go.
That
That was
was
the
the
story.
story.
And I thought he would kick my ass, but he loved it. Something like that, you know.
Now it's his ringtone.
I can actually bring up a technique here.
Okay.
When it comes down to details like that, when he said the ringtone and putting a good punch on the story, one of my techniques that I have written down is JFL, and that's actually an acronym for just fucking lie. If you really just need to put
And then-
a really good punchline in your story, and you really have something you're passionate about, when it comes down to that, throw in he loved it, and you exaggerate a little bit. He even has it as his ringtone now. It's great. Because everybody laughs, it gets a good little
why not?
emotion.
It's fun. It's more fun. It's like you're not taking life too. Not that you're lying, but you're not taking life too seriously.
I'd rather be
Have fun
told a
with it.
fake story than a shitty story.
Cool. So what's the first step here? How's he gonna improve his story?
Well, we have to figure out kind of the main parts. So how you're going to open it, like kind of the first part. So, and then the middle, which is the emotions that you went through, which would be like, oh, my buddy is a great bass player. Like I really love it when he comes down. He's really, really good. He gets really into his music. The other part would be how you wrote a song and you really love your brother, but you're really ripping on him a little bit. It's kind of like a satirical thing. And then the last point would be that you sung it and you were a little self-conscious about it, but you really belted it out. That's kind of when it. And then to close it, you could be like, and you showed it to him and he really loved it. And you could throw in maybe a little embellishment at the end. So something like that.
Cool.
You want to give it a shot?
Sure. So one of the things I really like to do is play the guitar, and I have a friend of mine who plays bass, and he's really amazing at the bass. So we like to jam every so often when he comes to visit because he lives out of state. And so we wrote up music for a song. I wrote lyrics for it, and the lyrics were about my brother. And I love my brother, but in the lyrics that I wrote, I kind of rip on him quite a bit. And
Why?
he's my little brother. I tease him all the time.
There you go.
So
I love him, but he's my little brother. I gotta tease him. So
exactly.
there you go.
So I sang the song, and I am a horrible singer, but I just kind of went all out anyway. And then we recorded it, and I showed it to my brother, and he actually really liked it. And so he actually made it his ringtone.
There you go.
And you know what else? Your voice was really loud when you were telling that story too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you say something that you really like, and you really have a lot of passion, and you really show it to everybody else. It was good.
What I really liked was what I was saying before, how I hate when I'm wondering if this person's like really, just fucking lying. But when he said, he's like, I sang on it, I'm a really bad singer. But like that kind of brought like the honesty to it. So it's not like, wow, I'm like the next rock star. I was like, I'm not, it was just for fun. I was a bad singer, but so I thought that was important. It made me know that it was real.
They're not going to trust anything I say for the rest of us.
That's okay. You're okay with that?
Yeah.
I am too.
Awesome. So you guys liked it? Liked the story?
Yeah, it's a good story.
Cool.
Okay. Artist.
Kai, you got a story?
Well,
I want to hear about your trip to America, your giant venture.
yeah. Well, because my mother is getting older, she's kind of getting like poor in health. Consider a bit of a mama's boy to the family, But I'm just thinking back to when I was about 8, and here is this woman. She took me and my brother, who was like 12 or so. We were living in Canton, China at the time, and she just decided one day, we got to get out of here. This is not working. We got to go to Hong Kong because all this oppression, all this hard life. We got to get out of here. So one night in the dead of night, must have been pitch dark. There's no electricity in Canton, obviously, and she took the two of us in tow, and we went down to a river. With this hotel where people were just smuggling other people out of communist China into Hong Kong, and somehow all the people had left her. So she had these two boys, me and my brother, kind of like by the hand, and I was crying, and my brother was saying, I can't stand this, I'm smelling cow shit. And sure enough, we were just stepping on it and everything, but that didn't deter her, She just grabbed us and just kind of put us on this little boat, this little dinghy, with the communists behind us, chasing after us, and we just got the hell out of there into Hong Kong, And I just think about this as time goes on, as my mom's health is failing, just how different my life would be, if she didn't take that step, like down to like little details like central air conditioning, dishwasher, it's like all the little things we all take for granted. It's like, I don't care for my mom, so I love her. She's wonderful.
Cool.
Oh, that's such a good story.
That was such a good story.
This is so interesting.
It's really good.
I want to know more about it. I want to keep talking.
You'll have to come to episode 2.
I don't know if we want to mess with that one.
I love it. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I can't even really think of anything.
Because they had like 3 layers on it. There was.
You know what you could say that make it a little funnier? Like air conditioning, just a little details like air conditioning and you said central air, dishwashers, and forks.
No, indoor plumbing.
Indoor plumbing. Yeah. Forks is funny.
It's simple, like something you think everyone has.
Yeah.
What? Forks. Do not have a story about forks.
Okay. What's next? It's good, man. And you stopped yourself from telling that one? Shit.
I think it was good here because he like connected it to his mom. I think if somebody came to me in a bar and was like, "Hey, I moved here," I was like, "Yeah, so did everybody else." But by connecting it in such a real way to himself, it wasn't bragging. It was
Share it.
Well, it has to be a certain time. You can't do one in a club. You have to, what people are feeling.
Cool. What's next?
What's next? We have, I think, up to techniques. So we have is
Just some techniques?
yeah, just basic things to remember when you're telling a story.
Just fucking lie.
Oh yeah, just fucking,
Big, middle, and
just fucking lie is number 2 actually. But one of them, the first one is adding in Kino, is touching.
Ooh.
Touching, which is good. And we just broke down a story into 3 parts, 3 main sentences, your 3 main keys, and the emotional triggers. What really helps to portray your emotion is when you have one of those emotional triggers, is just to kind of just touch somebody. Because there's a lot of emotion associated with a touch. So when you really have that strong emotion, you're kind of that somewhere else place, that really focused place. If you just have just an innocent touch, like kind of on the shoulder, or on the elbow, or on the waist or something, it can really bring up that emotion through whatever energy you have going on. At the same time as through the words and through all whatever tonality you have. So I think that's pretty key.
Cool.
And then another one is how your vocal tonality and how your words sound and the pacing you have between stories. What I liked about yours is when you started talking about how the communists were chasing you. You're like, oh yeah, the communists are chasing us, and there's like a little pause there. Because I remember, I think you said before, you guys all said, how dead silence, if it's not uncomfortable, you can really use it for a lot of things. So if you really kind of space out your words, and after something that's really kind of a cliffhanger or emotion that's really strong, you just can kind of just leave a little pause and wait for everybody to kind of catch up, and it kind of adds some tension, some sort of drama to an otherwise even any kind of flat story.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little messed up here.
I shuffled.
I shuffled them looking for the drill. It was good. But another key, the next thing after concise storytelling and really getting your details out is telling them in a passionate way. Just really using emotionally charged words and emotionally charged topics. And one way to do that, you found out in the concise stories, is just really getting the details very vivid and very short. But then once you have them there, you kind of have to use the right words. Like if you use the words like, it was raining, but it was a summer day. It was really warm. It was really wet. It was kind of slippery out. And you just kind of use those really excited, or it just kind of drew you in, or pulled you. And you kind of use those words in a story. It really adds that extra depth and that extra kind of emotional layer. If you're trying to connect with a woman, it's connecting on not only just a logical level, it's also using kind of your sexuality and using your passion toward each other, and kind of adding that to it.
Cool.
So the next drill is going to be, the first part is I want you again to tell a story about something that you're very passionate about. This time don't worry so much about length, but you want to remember to be concise about the details. But really try to amp up whatever kind of feelings you have. Like really picture it very, very vividly and try to express that through your words. So I'm going to start on this end, if you want.
This end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Start with Kai.
When I was in my 20s, I attended a Buddhist seminary in the Rocky Mountains. That was like this wacky existential period that I didn't know what to do with myself, or I was like depressed all the time. But there was this really great Buddhist teacher that was kind of like teaching us about fundamental truth and everything, and I wasn't getting it. It was a 3-month kind of thing, except that one day there was a teaching, and it was kind of cloudy, and I looked up, and there was a double rainbow. It was like it wasn't like it wasn't as though one is kind of like fuzzy or anything. It was vivid. There's 2 of them, as though somebody actually did that, and it just woke me right up. It was like something just so completely powerful, kind of woke up my mind, and I just felt so completely at peace.
He's good.
That's good.
He's good.
I think he gets points on that one.
I like rainbow.
Just
You give him a happy gong? I know you want to hit the gong.
I do win it.
Yes.
That was awesome, by the way. That was great. So,
So what are we doing with it?
tell you the truth, I don't know. I would normally just want to amp it up, but
Already juiced?
yeah, it's already pretty juiced.
You can't compete with the world.
I mean, she had a giant smile on her face the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I turned around, it's just plastered right there. So, yeah. I think we keep that story.
Okay. Wish I could do more for you.
Oh, we got more. We have a second part to this story.
Oh, we got another level.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I guess it's a surprise.
Ooh. Okay.
Okay. So right now I'm in undergraduate school, and I plan on going to graduate school starting next year in the fall. And one of the things when you try to get into graduate school for admissions, you want to get a lot of research experience. And so this past semester I was talking to a lot of professors about working in their lab over the summer. And so like I was talking to one that did MRI scanning, and I really wanted to get into her lab so I get experience with brain scanning. And so I met with her and I talked to her for a while. And I ended up not getting to her lab, and I talked to a few other people. And I couldn't get to theirs either, but I ended up getting into the lab that I'm in now, which I'm really excited about because it has a lot to do with my particular research interest when I go off to graduate school. So it turned out pretty well.
Cool. Juice it. You gonna juice it?
Yeah, I think we're gonna juice it.
Okay.
Rather than talk about details and talk about what happened, how about talking about how you felt about it, or like why you really like what you're doing? Because as far as the lab story goes, we know you were in a lab, but I have no idea what you did, or like why you picked that. So try telling the story, but start it as like you looked for an undergraduate program and you're looking for it, and you kind of couldn't find it, and there's this kind of this tumultuous period, and you can kind of go into that a little bit. But then once you got there, what do you really like about the job? What do you really like about the lab? Like, how do you feel about it? So try to really amp that up, put a lot of those words in it.
Do you want to get some of the female perspective here?
Yes.
I really want to know what he was doing in the lab and why he wanted to be in that specific lab. Like, were they studying different things in the other lab, and what are you studying now? Like, there were no details to connect me.
And why you were passionate about that
Yeah.
specific
Because you
spot.
have the opportunity to give more information about yourself, making you sound more interesting. So you should do that.
And if you really like the lab that you're in now, like, is it a happy ending or mediocre, or how did that affect where you are?
Okay.
Okay. Let's try it again.
Okay. So
Okay, wait. What's the feedback?
I'm gonna try to add more about myself to it,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of where why it ended up being a good ending for me.
Okay. Do it.
Okay. So I'm an undergraduate right now, and I'm trying to get into graduate school. And one of the things about graduate school admissions is you want to have a lot of research experience. So this past semester at school, I was looking to, I was trying to get into different labs at my school to work in, so I get more research experience. And I was having, I was talking to a lot of different people, and it wasn't working out. And I talked to one of the professors that I had a class with, and I ended up getting into his lab, which ended up being better than the other ones I was trying to get into, because it's more focused on what I'm interested in, which is I'm interested in like deep questions related to kind of philosophy of mind and actually testing those empirically. And so
Empirically? Girls don't know what empirically means.
I don't know what empirically means.
I'm just kidding. I don't know what it means.
I don't know what it means.
No,
But
no,
it was
I know.
definitely better. Definitely.
It's real world, right? Empirical means real world tested.
It's like scientific evidence.
Yeah.
By the way, you're a lot louder.
Yes.
Before.
Yeah. Lean forward a little bit.
The camera guys.
Yeah. Like, sit more upright. Get comfortable. One of the things that I've found really useful is like reducing language and using easier words, you know, when talking, and not using like. Did I give you that feedback?
Yeah, you didn't. It works
What-
like a charm.
Yeah. What words were you using before?
I don't even remember. Now I talk on a 4th grade level, and it's fantastic.
Some guys are just too smart.
So what was the pussy like before with the big words?
Not very good. Very dry would be a good word for it.
No.
And,
I mean, like how much were you getting? like not.
Like you said it.
What?
well, before it was I was just sporadic and kind of lucky, and
Yep.
you tone it down a little bit. And you get
4th
out-
grade level, is that the optimum?
I don't know if it's the optimum, but it's the optimum for me. So
Okay.
I go with 5th grade.
I
You go
think
with
high
5th grade.
school, you can definitely do high school.
I know I operated at a college level at least.
No, empiricals.
It's
shit.
college.
College.
Well, I'm not that kind of college student.
We're just talking like vocab. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like intellectually, you can talk like smart and stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
You don't want to.
But now that you've reduced your vocabulary, how are you doing with the women now?
There's this real connection that forms when you're just talking. You're not in your own head trying to find the right word. It sort of just comes out naturally, and you're sort of not trying to impress through your language.
Would you say it's a lot more wet now?
Well,
Is there a bountiful?
last night was very good.
Was that way too big?
Last night was good? Okay, that's enough. Okay.
That was TMI.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, yeah, you know, just try to trim down the vocabulary.
But he only used one word, and it was to
Yeah.
describe
Yeah.
what he was doing, and he's in a scientific field.
Right. But it does have an impact because one
does.
word and we lost him sometimes.
But then if he was like, oh, that means
Yeah.
this, then we'd be like, oh, great, but I just
then
learned
you're
something.
teaching her something.
Yeah.
Right. And then you teach
And
her.
that's key.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start over.
Okay. So I'm an undergraduate right now, and an ambition of mine is to go into graduate school and get my PhD. And so for graduate school admissions, you have to get a lot of research experience so you can get in. And so I've been trying to get into a research lab this summer. And so I was looking at a lot of different labs, and some of them weren't working out. And so I talked to one of the professors that I had a class with, and ended up getting into his lab, and that worked out a lot better because we'll be researching things that I'm specifically interested in that I want to do my own research on. And so the questions I'm interested in have to do with like really like deep questions, like philosophical ones, and I want to research those and find like real world evidence of different philosophical viewpoints.
Yeah. Much better.
Yeah.
Cool.
I liked it.
Okay. You gonna juice it?
Or juicing it more. Okay.
You want? No, I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit at the end, what I noticed was the philosophical thing, like the really deep questions. I thought that was a really good place to go into.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you see really deep questions, and you see like these
You can indulge.
topics. Yes.
And as Orleans will tell us, using words like deep are good.
Anything like mysterious, because it has a little bit of ambiguity, you know, so people can go both ways on it.
What are you doing, my sister back there, Orleans? It's like mounting my sister.
I saw him talking to her before.
You better watch
Pay
out.
attention.
He is Canadian.
Is he getting in?
You have to ask her.
She's gonna kill me. She is gonna kill me. Okay, so what are we doing now?
I think,
Do we have one more story to hear?
yeah, we still have one more story to hear.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. Here's a fun little story. When I was in high school, and during that time, that's when I actually first started like the whole like martial arts thing. I remember one night, I was it was probably, I would say, around probably like 1:30 a.m. and I'm sleeping, or I wasn't sleeping. I was actually just laying down on my bed, just watching TV in my room, right? And all of a sudden, and my room is downstairs in the basement, and all of a sudden I hear a door shut upstairs. I was like, holy shit, what the hell, right? Because I wasn't expecting anybody. And so the door shuts, and I hear somebody like run down the stairs. I was like, what the fuck, right? And so I get really scared. I take my phone and I dial 911. And they're like, 911, is this an emergency? I'm like, yeah, I think somebody's broken into my house, right? And so I like hide behind, I actually, I have like this display case of like some these knives, right? So I like pull out a knife. I have a knife in one hand and a phone in my other hand, right? And so like I'm like hiding behind the door. I'm like, man, if this guy like walks inside my room, this guy's gonna freaking get it, right?
Oh no.
And so, next thing I notice, I hear like two guys talking, and my heart's just pounding like crazy. Like I'm like, what the hell is going on? And next thing I know is this whoever it was goes inside the bathroom, right? And while I'm on the phone, this guy, whoever's in my house, whatever, is in the bathroom. The operator on the other line tells me to run upstairs, and because actually by that time the cops had actually gotten to my house, and so I run upstairs, open the door for the cops, and in the end we just found out it was my brother visiting us on a surprise visit.
Good. That had me on the edge of my seat. Metaphorically, of course. This is good. I was like, I want to know. Yeah. What'd you guys think?
It was definitely really good.
Yeah. What'd you think, Alex?
I liked it.
You walk. You gonna juice it? It's unjuiceable?
I think it's juiceable.
Juice it.
I think the content was really good, and I think how you delivered it was really good. And I think basically how you put it together and how you broke it down was really good. Just maybe you can really focus on using language that's kind of sensual, or that kind of relates to feelings, like touching and things like that. Like if you were really nervous, you'd say you were nervous. You could say, my heart was kind of like really beating.
You said that.
What?
You said that.
I know. Wait.
Okay.
I don't know. You got the idea.
I could feel it pounding in my chest.
I was sweating and hot.
Ooh. She's doing good. No, I liked it. That was a ooh, like, good. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It's great.
I liked it. If I was going to say one thing, that'd be it.
A little bit more sensual details.
Oh yeah, details are good, especially when they have to do with like feelings.
You get the woman like scared while you're telling her the story. Turned out it was my brother. I wonder if we could make it like funnier at the end.
What if his brother was like running into the house to use the bathroom or something like that?
Yeah.
Because like you said, he ran in the bathroom.
Into the toilet. Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be like some guy that just really had to go. That's
Or
full of the story.
Or I could just give the reaction to my brother when he found out there's like 5 cops like about to pull a
What
gun
if
on
they
him.
tackle?
Right. How can we use just fucking lie technique to make this story?
It was a burglar, and I stabbed him. I saved him.
It's an actual story that happened to him.
True.
just details to juice it a little bit. I like the genuine thing too.
I thought that was a good story. I didn't think it needed like.
That is good.
No, I thought it was good.
Well, like if you could even just describe like exactly like what do your brother think about the whole thing? Like
My brother's a cop also.
So
that's even better.
Is there a twist at the end?
What's that?
There's a little twist at the
Yeah,
end.
actually, when my brother was, actually when the cops came in, my brother was actually in his room by the time they got actually, got inside the house. And so my brother's a cop. Luckily, he didn't have his gun right by him because that would have freaked the cops out. And so, but in the end, my brother was like, "Whoa, what the hell's going on?" Basically.
Good.
they were like, "There's a burglar," and he's like, "Where?"
I'll get him.
I'm a cop.
What was that next?
Oh, I did. Oh, for the second part of this drill, you guys have to leave.
Oh.
Goodbye.
I'm just gonna talk to the boys for a second.
Boy time.
Boy time.
That was good.
All of you.
Love it.
Heartwork, come up here. We're gonna bring Heartwork up for no reason at all.
But for later, I got a story. No one's heard yet.
You got a good one?
No one's heard it.
Yeah.
Completely forgot I spent a weekend in Montreal.
Oh wow.
Completely forgot.
Okay, so what's the game here?
Second part of the drill is basically tell a story like that where you're really into it. You guys did all do very well. So you have the passionate languaging, details are good, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then since they won't really know what's going on, you're just going to tell it straight to them. And then when you notice them kind of reach a hook point, like they start to lean in, big smiles, some start to play with their hair, just like you really kind of think they're interested in the story. You can either pick one out or you can say it to all of them, and you bring it into like what we call a future or an adventure projection, where if it's something about like about your story, you could be like, oh yeah, we should go back to China to visit sometime. It's a really beautiful place, or kind of twist it around that way. Or it could be I don't know how many twist years. Oh, you could do for years. You could be like, oh, I wish you could have been there. Like it was crazy. It was absolutely nuts.
Which one? The
breaking in, entering.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah. And you could be like, oh, and then I'd protect you and.
Or my brother would love you. We should hang out with him sometime.
Mm-hmm.
And
just transition it. And then for usually the song, right?
Yeah, let's use the song.
I like the song.
I like the song. The song was the one that sticks out in my head the most.
Yeah.
And for the song, you could do either the fact.
I'll play guitar for you.
Be like,
yeah, I'll play guitar for you.
be like, what kind of music do you like? And she had just be like, oh, you love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'd be like,
Even if it's not the same genre at
I
all.
love screamo. Oh, it's great. I'll play guitar for you.
You will love it.
Cool.
Listen to black metal. Oh, fantastic.
So they're gonna react,
Yes.
and then you future pace it.
Yes, but you want to do it like you want to kind of. The whole point of this drill is kind of to tell when they're reacting, and then to go straight into the future pacing.
Okay. So what if she reacts early before, before there's enough information to really do it? Like, what if she reacts in the beginning, for example, before she knows that it's the brother? Right?
Yep. What you could do, and this is great for group dynamics too, is you kind of realize and you kind of recognize it in your head, like, oh, she really likes this. Like, this woman in particular really likes this story.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of single her out. Like, not really like single her out, like, oh, you, but just kind of direct your voice or direct your emotions just straight to her. What you can do is kind of build on that. You can build that, like, since you know exactly who your audience is, you can kind of build it directly in your audience. So by the end of the story, she's like, holy shit. And then you can go and you can transition into your future pacing and your close.
Should we do this one standing so they can practice touching?
Yeah.
I think it'd be good,
Be more expressive? Because I feel like it's hard to tell like an exciting story
Yeah.
sitting.
Yeah, it's the standing. Let's do a standing.
And one thing to look for, if you can, I do this in all my stories, especially if you're telling a long one, that's going to get like, it might feel like it's dragging on. Little check-in points where like, just anytime you bring something up that might be, or just anything from your story, just be like, you know what I mean? Just simple things like that to get a head nod. And that just kind of quickly
Engage
tones
them.
Just making sure they're always engaged. So if you feel look like someone's drifting off, you just kind of bring it up, be like, oh, you know what I mean, or just anything like that. Or have you ever done that?
Cool.
Okay, cool. Anyway, and
So
keep
what we're
going
gonna
with
do,
the story.
we're gonna bring the girls back in. They're gonna stand there. You're gonna be standing there with them. You're gonna tell them the story, and whoever reacts to it, whoever seems the most engaged, that's who you're going to kind of single out a little bit and talk directly to her and start using some keynote on the emphasis points, etc., and then future pace it.
Yeah, just a light touch on the arm, like touch on the hand, basically just to be like kind of reinforce the attention. And I think we should do this with a judging panel, because
Yeah.
I like judging panel.
Judging
You
panel.
will need wings.
No, you don't need wings.
No, it's
Your
just
story should engage everyone.
You
Actually-
wanna go back on the panel.
Yeah.
Judging
Well,
panel.
I want to be at an angle.
Clowns, you're not.
I want to be at an angle where I can really see the reaction.
Are we telling the same story, or
I
are
can
we
do it
telling?
later. It's not.
Yeah, you can use the same story because we've already developed it a little bit. So
And you can still develop it more if you want to.
Alright, come back.
It's basically recognizing who's the most into it. That's a key. Another key is making sure it's charged. And the third key is once you figure out who gets it, you get it charged. You figure it out and you future pace it with her and you get it. It's like, oh yeah, you totally love that. We should totally do that sometime. Or you really like my brother.
You want to cut it?
Or you seem like a girl that really enjoy this, and you can kind of talk about that for a little bit.
you guys will be standing in a group.
In a group.
In a group. Do we want to adjust the
Oh, I know what this is.
You do.
I do.
So do you guys remember the drill? Does anyone want to volunteer to go first? Or
Just pick one.
just pick one? All right, cool.
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
Why did you just
Wait, what?
Why did you just put your hand in your pocket?
Am I not supposed to?
Well, I just looked.
It was weird. Like you
Okay.
went to stick him up or something.
Okay.
Just talk to them like you were already talking.
Oh, so we're already talking?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or you want
there's
the whole
no
intro.
opening here.
We're already talking, guys.
Oh, we're already talking.
Oh, we
Yeah,
are?
they already.
Yeah,
You already like him.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Oh, but so do you guys like really exciting stories, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like, okay, I got this really great story, right? So, like, this was like probably just a few years ago. Actually, it was probably when I was in high school, right? And downstairs in my parents' basement, in my room, it's probably like around 1:30 in the morning, right? And I hear this. I'm just watching TV, and I hear this like door slam, like at 1:30 in the morning. Keep in mind, right? And so I'm like, well, what the hell? Because I was not expecting anybody. And so, whoever it was.
Okay, I want to give you some feedback. It looks like 3 girls plus you. I'd rather see a group of 4. Can you make that happen?
Okay.
Okay. So get closer. A little closer.
Okay.
A little bit.
Yes.
It's okay. Just a little closer, that's all.
Okay. And so.
1:30 in the morning?
Yeah, 1:30 in the morning. Okay. So, so it's like 1:30 in the morning, and I hear this guy, whoever it was, just run down the basement, and I'm like, what the hell, you know? And so, I get freaked out because I'm not expecting anybody. Nobody's really expecting anybody, and so I go ahead, I dial 911, and they're like, 911, this is an emergency. I'm like, yeah, I think somebody's breaking into my house, and they're like, okay, you know, just stay calm, whatever. But there was actually a like a knife display like in my room. I grabbed the knife. I'm like hiding behind the door, and imagine me, right, having a knife in one hand and a phone in the other hand, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, the cops are just telling me like, just stay calm, or whatever. And whoever this person was, I actually started hearing 2 people talking. And there's actually it wasn't actually people. There's actually a surprise at the end, you know. And I hear like 2 people talking. I get totally freaked out. And whoever it was goes into my into the bathroom. And during that time, the cops actually had come up, you know, to my house, and they told me to run upstairs and open the door. And my heart's just like pounding, right? And could you imagine me like just like with a phone in one hand, right, knife in the other hand, and the cops told me to just run up the stairs to open the door for them. It's like, oh shit. That in and of itself just freaked me out because I didn't want to just like leave my room, right? And so I run upstairs, open the door, and by the time like my brother had actually gone, or
Spoiler alert.
yeah, I know. Whoever it was actually they actually they were actually wasn't inside the bathroom anymore, and so the cops are like looking for whoever it was, and in the end, you guys really want to know who it was?
Yeah.
It was actually my brother. He was visiting us from Detroit actually, and he walks outside like of his room in his boxers. And he's just like scratching his head, like, what the fuck? Basically,
no.
you know. Can you guys imagine that? Isn't that crazy?
Who was he talking to?
Actually, you know what that was? He actually turned on the television inside the basement.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so that's just like that was like freaking nuts, whatever, right?
Yeah, that's a cool
But
story.
yeah, but it's kind of funny though. 'Cause I mean, all you guys seem like really attractive girls, whatever, right? And so I'm sure all you guys get hit on by like a bunch of dumbasses, like in the club and everything. So if you ever get hit on by somebody that you don't want, just call my phone up and I'll come and protect you guys. All right.
Cool.
All right. It's nice meeting you guys.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay. Raise your hand if you got feedback.
Feedback. Oh.
This guy. Right here. Okay, the guy with the headphones.
Patience. Like you have to relax. You know what I'm saying? Relax. Give eye contact. Like they gotta feel you. You know what I'm saying? They gotta feel that you're passionate about what you're talking about. So you gotta relax, and then your words will come out smoother. They'll come out real fluid. You know, that's it. I mean, other than that, I mean the story went well, but it just needs to be a little more fluid. You know what I'm saying? Engage them. All right, all of them.
Cool. I like it. Adam.
Well, the ending might have been a little weird and a little forced when you really get down to it. I probably would have gone with a fucking lie rather than sort of, it was a little odd to say, well, I'm sure you get hit on by lots of weird guys. It comes from out of nowhere, and it really broke the state. And suddenly, at least my impression is that would put up guard.
Right.
Very much, because it brings them back into being picked up rather than having a conversation with a cool guy, which they like. So
yes.
I might have run it a little bit differently and talked about either meeting your brother or I probably would have made them my bodyguards or something to that effect and had them on my two arms. That could have worked really well.
Yeah.
And something like that rather than bringing them back to being picked up.
Right. The whole reason why we're using story is to remove them from the context of this guy's picking us up. So when you take them back into that, it kind of undoes all the work that you just did. Another point of feedback that I actually had was saying stuff like, so it was really funny, you know. If it's funny, it's funny. Don't tell the story and then tell them how they're supposed to perceive it, you know. So, you know, things like, and so, you know, it was funny. Don't start explaining yourself, right? Just tell it. If it was good, it was good, right? If it wasn't so good, move on to something else. Don't try to sum it up afterwards. Do you guys have any feedback?
He looked away a lot.
Yeah.
I couldn't see that. He was
He was
looking.
looking
My
over
account is looking
here.
straight over their shoulders and didn't engage them
Oh,
really
okay.
at all.
Okay, yeah, you got to engage them with solid eye contact to each one of the three girls, or they're gonna lose interest.
8 to 10 seconds each. There's a study done on it. For guys, it's about 3 to 4 seconds. If you hold their eye contact for men, it's 3 to 4 seconds. But with a woman, you need to hold their eyes for 8 to 10 seconds, and it makes them. It creates the perception of them being interested. And so, whenever you're holding eye contact across the group, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 8 seconds, 10 seconds, 8 seconds.
10 seconds.
Cool.
No, it creates a really good reaction. I remember someone doing that too, and I was like,
Stop looking at
Anything
my
else?
eyes.
Hard work. You got anything?
No, this is good. All the feedback given was pretty much what I was going to say. I noticed you even incorporated a little touch to emphasize some of the cool points, which is good. But it probably felt natural. It wasn't like, and just don't look at your hand the first time you looked at your hand when you touched her. It should be, just.
Good. So here's a question. Can you condense it? A little bit faster? Do it again?
I think it'd flow a lot faster if you did a lot of the checkpoints that Harvard talked about.
Yeah.
And a few are good, but too many rights is going to diffuse the tension that you're trying to build up. You know? So
The feeling like you guys like the story, right? You guys like it? You get rid of that. don't give a shit if they like it. Just get the job done. Just tell the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would only use the check-ins before you're about to go on to like kind of a bigger part of it, because that just makes sure everyone's tuned in really quick for the next like meaty part of the story. So you could do it like I like what you did. You're like, oh, can't you just imagine me like down like that? That was good. It was creates a good visual. But then you like said it like 3 more times, so it got like
Right. I mean, the story is basically, oh, that reminds me, something crazy happened. One time I was home chilling, you know, hanging out, eating Doritos, whatever it is, and I actually heard footsteps upstairs, but I was home alone, so I was like, you know, what could that be? I was supposed to be home alone, so, you know, I heard this, so I went and actually got on the phone, dialed 911, and they had like this knife collection, so I grabbed a knife, so one hand I had a knife, other hand I had a phone, right? And I hid in the closet, they told me to go outside, went outside, and it turned out to be my brother. That's basically the story, right? And then there's the details that make it funny. Can you go back up and tell that same story in about 1 minute or less? Keep in mind all the feedback we gave you. Let's do it.
It's so hard, like, just to like starting off. You know, how do you start off with it?
Start off with,
Check it out.
that reminds me.
Check this out.
Check this out.
Okay.
That reminds me.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, so check this out, right? So one night, in my bedroom, just watching TV. It's downstairs in the basement, and I hear these footsteps coming down the basement, and I get freaked out, and I dial 911, and I see this knife collection that I have in my room, so I pick up a knife. So imagine me like having a knife in one hand and picking up the phone in one hand, dialing 911. And as soon as the person comes down, I hear some conversation going on. I'm like, what the hell, right? And so the operator on the phone tells me to run up the stairs, because by the time the person had come downstairs, he had like gone to the bathroom or something. And by that time, the cops actually were at my place, and they told me to run upstairs to open up the door for them. Like, all right. And basically by that time my heart was just like pounding, right? And so I open up the door, and in the end we find out it was actually my brother who had visited us. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Right.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. It's very good. How do you do, guys?
Good. I felt he was also like freer in his body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good job. Good. Matt, you're up. Okay. Let's do it.
So I love to play my guitar, and I've been playing for a few years now, and I have a friend of mine that he plays bass, and he's really, really sick at the bass. Mm-hmm. And he lives like the other side of the country. So sometimes he'll come to visit, and we'll jam a lot. And we had already had some songs, some music that we had gotten together. And so I wrote some lyrics about my brother. And I love my brother, but he's my little brother, so I kind of pick on him a lot. And so in the song, I just totally rip on him. And so we recorded the song, I sang it. I'm a horrible singer, but I just kind of went anyway. And so I finally showed it to my brother after we were done, and he actually liked it a lot, and now it's his new ringtone.
That's good.
Solid.
Yeah.
Concise. Got the
They
points.
had really
across.
good eye contact too.
Yeah.
Not like too long where it's like creepy, but it was like perfect.
Yeah.
Like, no, talking to you.
When we were like free, like stiff.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's good.
Any feedback?
Closer.
Closer.
Yeah, you felt like a guy.
I wanted to tell her like
Come stand here, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Stand in the middle, kind of around.
Yeah.
be generous with yourself.
Closer is my only feedback.
Yeah.
I think closer.
Anyone have anything?
You guys are kind of like wall-like, so it's weird to be closer.
Wow.
Like, remember how when we were talking and telling stories, like
You were like,
Well, yeah, but they keep on telling us
shady when you were.
Yeah, move that around also.
Right. What? Like this?
Like that.
Yeah.
I think this is a good time to talk about James Bond shit.
Oh, I love that one.
Okay. Yeah, Howard, what are you doing? Sit down.
it's a mix set. You're making a mix
All I noticed, and everything else was very good, but what I did notice, and it's not a huge point, but I was reading a book on body language, very small book, but they had a great entry in it. And it said James Bond in all the movies, whether it's Sean Connery, Pierce Brosnan, they all perceive them as like really smooth, right? And what they did a study on it. What it is when they're having a conversation, barely ever use hand gestures, barely. And if they do, it's something very controlled and very kind of short and very, kind of like really smooth and very slow. And so the only thing I noticed is that you kind of kept your hands up here, and they're very open, which is very good. But they were kind of up and out there the whole time. You don't want to start gesturing and being, like the weird Italian guy in the club who's kind of going all crazy. Exactly. But at the same time, you kind of, if you're going to do any gestures, you kind of want to keep them sort of slow and fluid, rather than kind of static and just kind of staying there. So overall, it's really good. That's a really small point of feedback, but it pertains to a lot of people. So
Great.
I liked it. You do it?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hi guys, how are you?
We're good.
Why don't we just move a little bit away from this guy who's going to kick you? I hear what you're saying, Patty, about really loving your family,
Yeah.
Like as I'm getting older, like my mom's in poor health, and but I remember the time we were back in communist China. You guys have been in Asia, right? No. Well, let me tell you about it. Like way back when, I was about 7 or so. My mom picked up my brother and I, in the dead of night. She just made up her mind, and we've got to get out of this place. We've got to get out of this oppressive country, And so in the dead of night, midnight, 12 o'clock, she took us by the hand, and put us in this little hotel near the river, and just when it was the right time, she just kind of like marched us out like this, Two of us, my brother and I was this little kid, maybe about 7, my brother was about 12, and I was crying, and my brother was saying, "No, I can't stand this cow shit." And indeed we were stepping on all the cow shit, and she plucked us into this little boat, and we just, there was this little ferryman, and we just got the hell out of there with the communists behind us and everything, and that just kind of like made me feel so much appreciation for my mother and my family and everything. It's just like all the little comforts of home is like central air conditioner, dishwasher, a fork even. That's like really huge.
That's awesome.
And you guys into going to Hong Kong at a certain time, or it's a wonderful place.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of have to go. All 3 of us. We gotta go.
Nice.
Well, you are.
Someone's getting left behind.
What'd you say?
Huh? You said all 3 of us.
Yeah.
I mean, someone's getting left behind.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So we all
All 3 of you.
No, the Canadian, she's illegal.
And not.
That was good.
That was good.
The only thing I noticed was you said a lot.
Yeah.
Other than that, a little bit closer. Get rid of
Touching, doing a little bit of moving.
Yeah, he did everything. Just been paying attention. Oh.
One small thing with your hands. You're holding them in fists for a lot of when you were talking. That could be a little aggressive. Even when you had them down, you still had them balled up in fists. So
I know.
it's definitely showing a little like tension.
Real nerve-wracking situation.
You got the transition though too.
Yeah.
You got it right. You got that transition though really smoothly, which I thought was pretty cool.
Great.
Got the objective. I'm saying Jay gets points.
Okay, guys, give a hand for Rewalk.
think that you just don't want me to tell the story.
Oh. You're gonna tell a story, right? Do you want to do a demo with the girls?
Yeah.
All right. You want?
Okay, we got time for a demo.
All right.
Okay. All right. Okay, so our work's gonna do a quick demo of a professional.
All right. What I'm going to do is how to start this story is a technique which you'll notice in movies like Fight Club and a lot of really good movies. They start their stories at the end. So I'll actually start my story by mentioning like man, this place is great, but I'm afraid things are going to get too wild. You ever been kicked out of somewhere? You guys look like fun. And it's like, man, one time I was in Montreal. You ever been to Montreal? Yeah, it's a great city. Well, me and my friends, first time we went up, we get there like, all right, we have to have a great time. So the second we get there, we storm out of our cars. There's a blizzard, there's a snowstorm everywhere. So that's not going to stop us. We're going to keep going to the clubs, and we go in, get a couple drinks, and I learned, Canadian beer is a lot stronger than American beer. Go figure. So after me, basically I was hanging out with my best friend Jeff. We had a couple other friends with us too. But me and my friend, we get a couple drinks, and we're like, all right, let's leave this place, see what else there is. We'll go down the street, grab a couple cigars. So we go to the convenience store across the street, grab some cigars, taking a walk, and we walk by this club called Club Cleopatra. Now, we didn't know what it was, and we're a little sauced up, just having a good time walking down, and there's these 3 girls, kind of like you, just standing outside, and they're in these crazy outfits. They're really silly. They're like bright red, almost like had like these leather things going down the arms. I was like, wow, these people seem fun. So jokingly, we start talking to them, and they come up and they're like, oh, this place is great. You gotta come in. And they're grabbing us, and I'm just like, what is going on? All right, let's check it out. So we walk in, and it's pitch black. I can't see my hand in front of my face. And, but there's still like the strobe lights going on and stuff. We're trying to figure out what's going on. As we get into the club deeper, we realize this isn't any ordinary club. We're in an S&M club. Yeah. So the lights come down shining. We see everyone. They're wrapped in leather. I saw someone with fangs. It was ridiculous. I'm like, Jeff, we have to get the fuck out of here. I am scared because I was probably wearing something a little nicer than this, but I was not dressed for the occasion. So we're looking for the exit. We couldn't go out the way they came in. I guess like the bouncer just wasn't having it. So we're stumbling around the club, and I find the exit. Turn around. My friend Jeff isn't there. So now I'm freaking out. And the next thing I hear is this, there's a big stage right in the middle of it, and these lights come down on it, and I hear, ladies and gentlemen, introducing Mistress Medusa. And this woman comes out. Huge black heels, strapped with these weird leather bras. She was like some S&M stripper with a whip. And she's just whipping the ground. And I look up, and there's a chair. And there's someone on the chair. It's my buddy Jeff. He got forced up on stage, has his legs tied to the bottom of the chair, and she's surrounding him with a whip. Now this is my best friend. I don't know if you've ever just seen someone in danger, just instinctually acted. I don't know. I had a couple drinks in me too. Next thing I know, I'm just running full speed. I jump on the stage and I'm like, no, Jeff! And I just tackle him off the chair, untie him, and then we both are just standing there. And she's sending the whips at us. I still had a mark on my back for the longest time. Yeah, it was, and everyone's just chanting and stuff, and we get thrown out of there so fast. And just right out back into the snow where we were.
That is so
it was the craziest experience.
Oh my God, wow.
So next time we go, you guys are gonna have to keep an eye on me.